Hello, and welcome to another episode of Stampin' 101. I'm Deb Keyes. Thanks for joining me on Stampin' on the Hill. Today we have our Stampin' 101 is all about adding dimension to our cards. So if you remember last time, we did a monochromatic card, which means just one color, and we made it cute. And I showed you a couple different variations, I believe. And it was cute, but I'm going to show you a couple other ways you can add some dimension to your cards. Let me flip the camera down. All right, so this is the card we made, and we just used one color, yellow ink. Well, black and white don't count, so one color of yellow ink, and we kind of made it cute. I ended up putting this as a variation instead of on a white card base. I ended up putting it on the Daffodil Delight card base as well. And then I believe I also showed you another option where we added a layer. So the layer itself, just again, black doesn't count, black and white. So I ended up with a smaller piece. The piece that I use that is white is 3 by 4 1/4. And then the black piece behind it is just a little bit larger. So it's 4 3/8 this way by 3 3/8 this way. So let me give you I made a template, and maybe some of you would like to do this yourself. Let me move this out of the way. And this is my template. And I just did this out of old retiring cardstock. So you may notice some of these colors or recognize some of these colors. I don't honestly remember what they are, but that's okay. So what I did is I just cut pieces of paper from retiring cardstock. And so I started, and then I put labels on them. So I started with 4 1/4 by 3. And then my next one is 4 3/8 by 3 1/8, which is 1/8 larger than this size. And that's how I made mine, in like 1/8 increments. And I made them different colors so that they would stand out against one another. And I just keep them in a little plastic. This is a used or an old embellishment piece of envelope. So I just keep them in there, and I keep them right there close to my stamp table. And then, whenever I need quick measurements, it's easy because I can do this and go, oh, let's see. Yep, that looks about the right size. And then I can see that this coordinates with that. So this is my white and this is my black on this particular card. And then the bigger one is the 4 by 5 1/4. That is my white layer under here. That's the bigger white layer that I have the yellow daisies on the back. So anyway, that's how I do it. You may find it helpful to make yourself a little template. How many of these are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There are 9 total pieces in here. And you can make them smaller if you wanted to. But these are the rectangular ones. You could also make yourself some square ones, whatever you like. But anyway, so that's one way to add dimension, is by layering. Let's see. I wanted to bring in some ink to show you. I have stamped, I'll show you. I'm using the Planted Paradise stamp set, and I used this little pot image here, and I stamped it in copper clay already. And I brought in my piercing mat because the stamps are the photopolymer. And I'm going to try Old Olive with this one. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ink it once and stamp it multiple times. So let's see if I can do this. Ink it up once. You know what I forgot to do? I made a mask. My mask is made out of just a piece of Post-it note, and it's a little bit sticky right here. And so we'll get to this technique at some point in the future. But I cut it out with just a pair of scissors. some fussy cutting around there. And so watch what this does, because this is kind of cool to add depth that looks like it's behind or inside the pot. So I can put, I'm going to go one here. This is full strength. And then I'm going to do another one. I'm trying to keep the edge of this in my pot. And you can see right there, there's a line on there from where the line was here. So I'm going to make this one go down so that that line doesn't end up in the middle of my project. And now it looks like it's good. So I can move it up one. So you can you see in there? So I've got 1, 2, 3 stamps with one ink, or yeah, images with one ink. Now I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to bring this one down here, I think. No, bring it up here. 1, 2, 3. And I think I want to, let me grab a piece of scrap paper a minute. I think I want to, you can also add extra just by stamping it off a couple of times first. I want another one over here. And we can go up one that way. And then I'm going to stamp off one more time and do the same thing over here. There. So now it looks a little more full. So that's just another way to add depth. And so what happens is your eye, as the color, if you're looking at a forest, the color that's closest to you is usually the darker of the colors. And then as you look through the forest and see the greens spread out, it just becomes a little bit more of a faded color, although it's the same color. So that's what this is supposed to reflect. Now, if I pull this off, you can see that, the ends of my leaves are on my mask instead of on the front of my actual project. And I just keep these masks when I make them, fussy cut around, and they don't last forever, but I just stick them in the inside of my stamp case so that the next time I want to use it, it's there. So that's another way, is by stamping multiple times after inking one time. And come back next week. We're going to do on Way Back Wednesday next week. I'm going to show you how I'm turning this into a project. So come back for that. Let's see. What else? You can use dimensionals. You can use, well, the dimensionals, I have this cut out so you can actually see. They're not really deep, but they do add some depth to your card. Let's see, what did we use it on? We used it on this card. I think you've seen this card in a previous video before, but you can see here that I used dimensionals under these 3 strips. So that gave it, some dimension. And then we also have the dimensionals we have mini dimensionals for smaller sized images in case you want to like cut something out and pop it up. And there are also strips, and I think they're like 1/8 inch wide strips, if I remember correctly. And so you could do like around the whole, I could have done around the whole perimeter of each of these pieces, which, by the way, is a bit overkill for this project, but it's great to make shaker cards. I'm not sure if you know what a shaker card is, and I don't happen to have one handy, but a shaker card has the dimensional strips like all around the whole thing. We use a window sheet, and then you put like glitter or sequins or bits of paper or something like that underneath the clear window sheet, and then you can shake it. So it's called the shaker card. So those are useful too. We have embossing as a way to add dimension. This is dry embossing, and this I used an embossing folder on. You can kind of see, and of course I used some dimensionals under the greeting here too. But you can see how raised up the images are, and On this particular piece, I used DSP and I embossed right on the DSP. Let me think. Then there's also heat embossing. I'm not sure how well you're going to be able to see this, but these white weeds, they're not really weeds, I think they're herbs, but this is from the something about the crate. I forgot what it's called. Anyway, so these are heat embossed, and heat embossing requires embossing powder, and it requires a heat tool. So a little bit more complex, but it's another way to add dimension. What else? Oh, and I had a couple of examples where you can, adding gems and ribbon. Those are also options to add some dimension. They pop up a little bit. You can see them popped up a little bit. I'm trying to watch it in the camera too, but yep, pops those up a bit. You could also just use a strip of paper. In this particular case, I've got the sequins in here that are adding dimension. And then I also have this is a strip of DSP that goes behind here. You could use a solid color if you want. But those are some ways to add dimension. And as I said, we are going to, next week, I'm going to show you how we're going to turn that multiple stamped leaf pot image into a project. So come on back next week for Way Back Wednesday. Also, our next Stampin' 101 tutorial will be all about casing. Casing as in CASE, copy and share everything. It's an acronym. And I'm going to give you a bunch of tips on how you do your own casing, so you don't have to come up with your own projects, or you think you're not very creative. Well, it's okay to borrow other people's ideas and make them your own, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So until next time, thank you for watching.